o'clock now, so I will call this meeting to order, the Public Awareness, Personnel, and Policy Committee of the Vallecitos Water District.
Yeah, and thank you. So we have no public comments, and there should be, is there anybody in the public?
Nope, no other participant.
No other participants, great. And we haven't had a P3 in a while. We have these meetings usually quarterly, but the last quarter just got canceled due to timing. So we haven't, but we'll figure we'd give you a couple items of update. And really, this will be mainly Chris's show. So Chris, take it away.
Thanks. I'm gonna pass these around. This is the between the pipes that we put out in January. The important thing that I'm sharing is that we reached out to every customer about non-functional turf back in January of 2025. So I have a PowerPoint. Tanis has seen it. I presented at Lake San Marcos Community Association. But on that front page shows the dates where compliance for non-functional turf is called out. And so like local governments have reached out to the city of San Marcos by January of 2027, commercial and industrial properties by January 2028, and then common areas for HOAs in January 2029. So those are some of the dates where California really wants those items resolved. We can go ahead and go through. I'll do the PowerPoint really quick. I know Tanis as our Director
okay.
Brown has seen it. So those are some examples of non-functional turf in front of an HOA. Just these little squares of grass, real difficult to irrigate, to try and keep it on the grass and not have it go back onto the hardscape there. You can go ahead and advance it, Kirsten. Thank you. So this is for the P3 committee. These are the same sorts of presentations that I was giving to, I think it was Kiwanis, and or maybe it was Rotary, and then that's fine. So the important thing is that we're doing this now. I'll define non-functional turf and then the state-wide water challenges that we have. So the background is that there's water scarcity, there's recurring drought, there's statewide conservation mandates, and then there's pressures on urban water use. There's a lot of water. I think you're both aware that agriculture is the biggest user in the state, but you know, we're trying to keep the urban water use down as well. So this is a real good example. This is right in front of the convention center downtown. Non-functional turf is turf that's not used for recreation, sports, community activities. These little grass strips, and then in contrast that with a park where people would play frisbee or throw a football or have picnics. And I think the next slide, or if we hit the enter key, yeah, there's the picnicking right along the you know, all the traffic with your children, right? That's not going to happen. We can go ahead and go on to the next one. So the legislation is from 2022, AB 1572, and there's also related legislation. It restricts irrigation of non-functional turf, commercial, industrial, institutional sites. There's possibility that this will be expanded to other things beyond that, but nothing at this point. So why do you want to eliminate non-functional turf? Well, there's water savings potential, reduced maintenance, and then there's the environmental benefit. And you can see right here, this is Lake San Marcos. I think you both know the water quality at Lake San Marcos is very poor. And one of the contributing factors is the ongoing runoff that goes into the lake, especially the fertilizer and the pesticides and things going into Lake San Marcos. So the exceptions would be, you know, sports fields, active resident, active sports fields, recreation, throwing a frisbee, residential lawns. If it's a low water use landscape, you're good to go. And then there's certain public spaces that would be exempt as well. So here's some good examples of non-functional turf. The middle of the highway on the left, some of the parking lots, little strip malls, just really poor use. It's really hard to irrigate and keep it on the turf That's one of the problems. That's why the state's really cracking down on this. It doesn't serve a lot of purpose. So here's a change that happened. This is Bradley Park, kind of the upper ones, the before pictures. So I'm saying Bradley Park, and you're thinking, oh, well, this is a park, so it should be okay to have grass. But no, this is like the grass that was right along the freeway right there, or not the freeway, but at least the highway, Rancho Santa Fe, and the actual park is beyond the parking lot where the sports fields are. So this is how the city of San Marcos changed out theirs. They used decomposed granite rather than mulch, and their thinking was that it would stay on the landscape better than mulch, which has a tendency to break down and slide off and go into the gutters. And so forth.
Ironically, their non-functional turf was nicer than the turf that's on the field.
Right, because it doesn't get walked on and used so much.
Exactly.
I think the city did a great job on that particular project. It looks, I mean, it looks better than it did before with the non-functional turf. So.
Yeah. So alternatives are California native, drought tolerant, mulch, ground covers. Bioswales are kind of a big thing these days. When you're getting your rebate, they want a bioswale in there to collect the excess rainwater and keep it on the property rather than have it go into the gutters and the storm drains. And then also shade trees. So the local impact, it can affect businesses. The water district, we've got responsibilities. There's rebate programs available. I've been out talking to community groups about that. And this was some work done with water authority staff getting some landscape changed out at Lake San Marcos, where they had a lot of, kind of unused non-functional turf there. The challenges is the cost of the replacement. There's good rebates available right now, up to $7 in some places. There's certain people that really don't like anything but grass. They really do like the grass. And then the enforcement and compliance. I've been on some group calls with my peers at the other water agencies, and the state really doesn't define how you're gonna police this. One of the staff members on the call made the joke that everybody's responsible, yet nobody's responsible. So that's one of the tricky things, but we just want to get the message out.
Yeah, the general theme is the state's gonna have a hammer or they're gonna have a stick, but there's not really gonna be a carrot. At one point, they just have them told us how big the stick is.
Right.
So,
So here's some of the ones that were done: Fairways HOA, Mall 3, and then Panorama out at Lake San Marcos. So there's some properties that had some non-functional turf taken out. And they don't have to take out all of it. There's still certain spots where we give them some areas for walking dogs, 100%. There's people that they're going to want their dogs. And, if we can reduce it, then that's a benefit to us. So how you can help is educate staff, customers, and communities. There's rebate programs, choose water-wise landscaping. That's the crux of it. It's being phased out statewide. Significant water and cost savings are available, and opportunity to reimagine the landscapes. And then we won that really nice award from Metropolitan One Water for our work with the HOAs in Lake San Marcos to get non-functional turf taken out. That was a really, really big effort, and is getting us ahead and working to try and get the County of San Diego is offering an additional incentive to help out unincorporated areas. Well, we have Lake San Marcos and we have up the Twin Oaks Valley, but there's no rebate coming from the city of San Marcos or the city of this,
Right.
the city of this. So,
So the $7 a square foot, is that from the county that you mentioned?
no, that's really from Metropolitan.
through
Oh,
CWA.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of what the county is really offering is kind of a hand holding through the process where they really help the HOA to do this. That's really kind of the benefit that they're providing. They'll still be helpful, but not to the same level. And some of the HOAs are thinking about re-going back and doing some additional non-functional turf on their properties that, they're realizing the expense of the water itself and ready to change that out.
Yeah,
JP, you get back to you in a second?
well, I wanna make sure you're done with your presentation first, so I'm just gonna ask about,
Is there another slide?
is that it?
That's it.
Well, so one of the things I want to talk about is there's kind of a mixed message coming from agencies, the state, and even the county water authority. So in general, the state has a water problem, and the state, from a resource level, from an environmental level, is pushing to reduce MNR usage. So basically, commercial irrigation, residential type usage. Overall, and kind of preserve ag water to the extent, because that's a big portion of the economy also. However, with what's going on the Colorado River and what the volatility of the Sierra Nevadas, especially if you consider the aspects of if climate change really does reduce the amount of snowpack and compared to water, this rainfall. All of those concerns are definitely trying to be all to address some of those things. The region has an abundance of water. The region has too much water rights, and even with cuts in the region, we're trying to offload water. The state as a whole doesn't really take into account individual regions' issues or water makeup. What will happen is the state will make a postage stamp policy that applies to the whole state. And San Diego will come with their lobbyists and say it shouldn't apply to us because of these reasons. We cannot get desal water back to the Sierra Nevadas, for example, no matter what unless you put it in a truck or something. But the state will say we're all have to take the suffering equally. We don't really care that you have abundance of water. San Diego's argument will be, we spent $4 billion to ensure that we don't have to do that based on the rules that were in place at the time. You've changed the rules on us. And now our residents pay some of the highest water rates in the state, while there's people in the state in Northern California that still don't have water meters that just use water at a flat rate. Although that is becoming more rare now. So there's a constant back and forth. At the end of the day, as a responsible retail water agency, we have a state rule and guideline, which has, again, gonna have a stick, but very little carrot. The carrot is the rebates for customers. And so we'll have to move forward. But you'll also hear it almost in the same breath. We'll be talking about how we reduce water sales are going to increase costs of water. So you're going to hear a mixed message, unfortunately. One is a state mandate thing and has no reflection on the local water resources. So the truth of the matter is San Diego and any member of the community who's lived there since 1991 has paid for billions of dollars worth of infrastructure to ensure that we don't have a water drought in San Diego County. And we pay for it every time you pay your water bill. Well, for us, 75 cents on the dollar goes to a portion of that every time you pay the water bill. So it's kind of a mixed message, and the P3 committee and the board, as far as it should have a good understanding that you're going to hear messaging about trying to increase water usage and how that's great for ratepayers, messaging about removal of functional turf and other conservation as a way of life. And if the state does pass its new water use restriction ordinance, that will actually create a whole nother layer of work, which includes potential water budgeting, which is customer by customer. Here's your water budget. Here's your water budget. That's the potential for that. And those are all things coming down from the state. And then on the flip side, especially for the water authority, you're going to hear about long-range financial planning, how our water demand is below our minimum water takes, how we're trying to offload up to 50,000 acre feet of water to make the balance the books, and difference between fixed costs and variable costs, and the fact that we're paying for this much water and using this much water. So these are all kind of almost contradictory messages that you're gonna hear from staff, but I just wanted the P3 committee to understand. One's really a state mandate message and one's a local boots on the ground, what's in front of us message. So,
Well said. That's really complicated competing
yes,
things, and I think you explained it really well. So thank you.
So you will see a lot of messaging on non-functional turf. We will have messaging, but Metropolitan also has messaging on it, as well as the water authority. So questions about non-functional turf?
I have more questions about how do we sell more water?
So one thing that's been discussed, and I'll talk about it in my, this is kind of off topic, but I'll talk about it in my county water authority updates. But one thing that the water authority is exploring is selling our water rights to other agencies that are part of Metropolitan Water District that don't have the abundance of water that we have. So we're not actually selling them our desal and sending it up there, but
QSA.
we're having them buy our water at the cost that we would pay from Met, and then we get the cheaper water from the QSA. So it's kind of this like paper transfer. I think that would be one way that county water authority could kind of be saved if it works out. But that's in its infancy right now. They're just sort of discussing
It would
it.
still be passed through though, would we recoup any of the,
Yeah, it would
Uh,
save us because they'd be paying for that portion of our minimum take, so up to
Okay.
50,000 acre feet. There's also concern because everything's cyclical. We had two amazing years of snowpack and rain, and we're still living, even though last year was dry, we're still living off the basically the benefit of that. So the state water system has roughly a year's worth of storage in it, plus or minus. And when you add groundwater and stuff, maybe you have a year and a half. I don't really actually understand the volume of the groundwater and how that would apply. So take that with a grain of salt. The Colorado water system has about 8 years of storage in it. So the Colorado system's still in the drought if you look at any of the lakes, and Chris's report kind of shows it. So you could have 4, 5, 6 years of good rain, snowfall in Colorado, and it may not catch up, but you could have 12 years of drought relative in the Colorado system and still have water in the lakes. So the state lives and dies on roughly a 2-year cycle.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 bad years of rain, snowfall in the state, and all of a sudden, all the alarm bells are gonna ring in Central Valley and Northern California, and people are gonna talk about water ration. Meanwhile, in San Diego and LA, we're gonna say we have plenty of water because the majority of our water comes from the Colorado River, which because of that storage volume, even though Colorado River is, I think, in 8 years of drought roughly right now,
Yeah.
it's still got volume, although now with the new upper basin, lower basin states, it's gonna change the rules and all that. So we could foresee if we have 2-3 years of low snowpack in the Sierra Nevada system, and there's no rebound in the Colorado system in the next 2-3 years, and with the mandates from the federal government, the cutbacks that are probably gonna happen, and the litigations that may happen, then you're going to see basically I won't say the worst case scenario, but a pretty bad case scenario where the state of California is going to have to probably can't get the water from just its citizens. They're gonna have to start going into businesses, and that's gonna cut the economy significantly for agriculture, or considerably raise the cost of food or something to that effect. So that's kind of what we're looking at, and that's what the water authority is grappling with. So, that 50,000 acre feet for the next couple of years, the general manager saying, that's great, let's do it, but don't make it a long-term permit thing. It's a 3-year, it's a 5-year, because at the end of the day, we're gonna need that water again
at some point,
at
yeah.
some point. So, and if you ever lived through a prolonged drought, water security is the number one thing you care about, and then all of a sudden it rains and everybody forgets it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, sure.
as I think as a society with very short-term memories, so.
Well, we could talk about that all day,
Yeah.
so
Truly.
let's
Move on to the next item.
move on to, stay to the agenda here. I mean, literally, we could talk about that for 8
Yeah,
hours
yeah.
straight
True.
and not.
So, Speakers Bureau, so my department will speak for community groups. When I first got here, desal was the big subject. And go out and do desal presentations, and then drought has been an ongoing issue. So presentations on desal or drought were a big item. Right now, it's non-functional turf is what I want to bring out to the community, so that I'm making sure that we're just being diligent in explaining this whole thing to the community in different formats. And what I wanted to broach with the committee was, when I arrived here in 2015, there was sort of a undefined protocol to allow board members to come along to the Speakers Bureau events. I believe back then there was a stipend attached to it back then, which made it a little more attractive for certain board members. And the vague protocol I was given was that I would offer it up to the board president first. And then if the board president chose not to participate, then wherever the speaking engagement was, that I would offer it to the board member of that specific division next. And so that was the protocol, but it really wasn't defined in any way, shape, or form. And basically, quite a few of the board members have turned over the years, and I want to put it in front of the committee. Is there a specific protocol you'd like me to follow for that?
So our ordinance is a little bit more defined now since it's been updated. Majority of the speaking engagements are voluntary, they're not a per diem rule.
Mhm.
And my initial thought, and we want the committee's type of opinion on is we're just gonna offer it to the board members, knowing that it's a voluntary thing. And if any board member is interested, they contact the general manager's office through Kirsten, CC Chris, and I'll be CC'd obviously on that, and just to let know you intend on it, you intend on speaking. This way, if it's appropriate, whoever's speaking, whether it be Jason, myself, or Chris, depending on the subject matter, could do a proper introduction, give that board member a chance to introduce themselves if they so choose. So what are any thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think that's good. I do think that wherever the engagement is happening, that maybe the board member that represents that area should be given first priority to speak there. And then if that board member doesn't want to speak, then maybe see if the rest of the board members want to speak.
I can totally do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, my initial thought was we just send it out generically to everybody. And if the board member that is the representative, they will give them the first opportunity to speak before
Right.
any other board member. But if we could always just send it out, ask one, I just didn't want to include a protocol where we have to send out multiple emails.
Then you're
for something.
waiting for a response
Yes,
from
exactly.
the first board member and you get no response.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe we just say, if you do invite the entire board, maybe just say like, in the email, FYI, this is Division 3 represented by Director Pennick or something like that.
Sure.
And then, just so we know right away. And because I mean, I just like speaking for myself, if it's in my area where my constituents are, I would definitely want to go to that. And then if it wasn't in my area, then I would like the other board member that represents that to go. So.
so what we'll do is we'll send out a generic email. So what will happen is Chris sends out an email of all the speaking engagements typically. So it's not individual one per one.
Yeah.
And so
Oh, okay.
so it's here are all the events that we're doing this month.
Sure.
And what I was hoping to do is say, if you're interested in attending any of these events, please contact Kirsten and let us know that you are interested. And these are, these are non-per diem events, or this way it's clear. And then we just kind of triage it that way. This way, because we don't send out individual, we have this one event here and one event there.
Okay,
It's a
yeah,
month, it's
I
a
mean,
monthly.
that's fine, and it's up to us to figure out where which
Yeah,
ones we
if,
want to attend, and if there's more than one director, it's fine.
yeah, they could be, actually, on something like that, you could have all the directors as long as you don't talk business.
Yeah, that's what, that was gonna be my question, is this a violation of the Brown Act in any way? You know, unless we sit together and.
No, you can even sit together, you just
Oh.
can't talk district business, so I mean, so for example, when we go to conferences, sometimes I'll
Sure.
walk up and there'll be two of you, and you might be talking about a board thing or item, when a third person comes up, you know, either Jason or I, one of our jobs would be like, hey, we can't talk about that anymore,
Yeah,
cause now there's three of you, so.
Yeah.
At these speaking events, is there an issue with discussing campaigns or voting?
Yeah, that is pretty clear when it's, I'm glad you asked that. So board members are not supposed to use district functions to do individual campaigning. They're
Right.
talking about their, you know, upcoming elections or anything like that. It's supposed to be a district function. You can't use that for, that's a violation. So then you'll get a call from either myself or more likely Jim Gillen if that happens.
I don't think that's ever happened, so.
So, yeah, you typically, but hopefully, but that's one of the things that we do have to watch out for. So,
Understood?
alright, so if it's
Sounds good.
okay with the committee, you'll get an email, and at the bottom of the email with the events, all the events which Chris sends out about monthly, correct?
Yeah.
And you guys were already received them.
Yep.
And we'll just put down an extra sentence at the end is, if any member of the board wishes to attend the event, please contact Kirsten.
Yeah.
To let her know these events are not a per diem event. They'll just say that.
yeah.
So,
So if you're a member of Rotary or something like that, Chris is gonna be speaking. You just still let Kirsten know.
yeah, just so that, and you can even say, I'm already a member of Rotary, so I'll
Right,
be there.
yeah.
So, and there are like some flexibility. You could, if you're already a member of something, you could be attending as a member of that,
Yeah.
you know, club or group, and not a member of Vallecitos. And as a normal member of that club, it's just really good. Like, for example, when we went to Lake San Marcos
Yeah.
for the hearing at the regional board, one of the board members wanted to speak, but she had to say, I'm speaking as a member of the community, not a
Right,
board member at
Yeah.
Vallecitos. So there's always those options too. So, but usually at an event, Chris is way better than I am at this. You know, we'll make sure to introduce, you know, any board member that's there.
yeah.
So, and give an opportunity at least to say hi. So.
That's all I have.
Did you, on a separate note, I think that's it, if you want to adjourn the meeting and.
Sure,
So-
yeah, so it is 10:28 and this meeting is adjourned.